mentioned about court. I'm interested to hear from you, Kelly. Like, how is, I'm sure there are challenges, with using AI in court. What are some of the challenges that you've been, exposed to?
Yeah, so that's definitely an area that is it's quite a challenging area because you are most of the time you're also dealing with people's lives, so you most likely making decisions about people's lives, and so I think a good introduction here, Sarah, is probably if I mention perhaps two of the big cases that have been around. And one of them is an Australian case, which is now actually in court, and it's called Robodebt. So Robodebt is a recent case that the Australian government deployed AI to in social services to assess, perhaps whether people were allowed for identifying consistencies, basically, in individuals declare income, right? So, and what happened is that system was running for quite a few years, until it was identified that there were many, many errors with the system. And the government is now spending around $50 million to respond to these mistakes.
Oh my goodness.
So not just that, but hundreds and hundreds of people have been affected by that. And it's been a sort of another big wake-up call, I think, especially in Australia, about really understanding the technology before you deploy. And in such cases, and this is a question that's now being around in court as the case is currently going around. The question is, who has the liability now? Is it the company that created the AI and sold to the government? Is it the government that didn't really understand?
Okay.
Yes. So there's also that lack of placing responsibility within the legal system. So I think these first cases are opening also, understanding about who is going to be liable when such things happen, right? Because what happens in such scenarios is that the AI company doesn't really come to light, so they don't really respond to a lot of these problems. So
they probably think, oh, it's not our responsibility, it's the government. And then the government's like, well, we used your technology, so is there a duty of care? Those are questions that I
correct. Yeah. Wow. And I would probably say that yes, they all have a duty of care.
Yes.
But in such cases as well, what we need to understand is that even if a company sells you a perfect AI solution, as the client, you are still continuing to train that solution. It's a bit like having an iPhone, having your Siri with you. Siri is automatically learning more about your life as the day and years pass.
Yes.
So it's a bit like that. You're deploying a system, and it's going to be like, oh, so what sort of data do you have here? And you're going to feed that and teach that and so on. So if you are biased and if you don't understand that process, this is where your problems are going to start as well. So you need to have a system in place to, monitoring and understanding what these principles are, and, match them with your current system. And each scenario will be different, but yeah, that's the, I guess, foundation there.
Yes.
And now to go a bit more into the legal system, which was your question, actually, there's another important case, and this is a US case, which was called Compass. So this was Compass sentencing tool. So Compass was a system deployed by the US government as well to make decisions about how long the sentence should be for the people in decisions in court. So what they found is that the system was deciding according to racial reality. So
No
if
way.
you were Black American, you were more likely to be sentenced for longer in court. So, this is, being a public case in the US as well, which they also navigating there. So, this
How
is
did that
very,
happen, Kelly? Like, how did that, is it
I
because of,
ask that every day, Sarah.
no, but like, how is it that someone of color got a higher sentencing than, say, in a white? Is it because they look at precedence? Is that how so the technology just uses whatever information is put into
Correct.
built
So
in?
so correct. We're feeding technology with existing data. So
Ah,
another
okay.
example of this is, and we've seen last year, the results of living in a world that's biased, that suffers from racial discrimination. So, another good example is when you have, police deploying that same system. And they have done that across many different countries now, from the US to Australia. And they might deploy an AI system to find out where are the crimes more likely to happen. Because of course it's very obvious that then they will send more police to that area,
Yes.
because it's expected that more crime will happen in that area.
Mm.
But what happens is that that system is constantly being trained on the existing data, which shows that, perhaps people of, darker color is more likely to commit crimes. So, hey,
Wow.
they all live in this area here, B, as opposed to A. So
Ah.
let's send all the police there to area B. And then
I
what happens?
see.
Well, if the police is there, they're likely to find more crimes as well because they are there,
Yes,
right?
there's a presence. It's just,
Correct. And
yeah.
then we have, then we automatically
Oh,
generating
okay.
more bias.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's pretty intense. And I mean, I'm sure there are systems slowly coming in place to have a check and balance to deter that from happening. In your opinion, is that probably not enough being done in this space?
Yeah, I think it's constantly evolving. I think that we
Yes.
are having a lot of great people and a lot of great organization doing good things to,
Yeah.
create a response to this. I think
Yes.
it's just very new, and
Yes.
there isn't much awareness about it. And
Yes.
it's not necessarily that a lot of the times it's not necessarily that people have the intention of creating a system for that purpose.
It just
But
happens
it automatically,
because
exactly, it
the
automatically
prevailing
might happen,
bias.
and because you don't know how to check, monitor, or respond to that, that
Yes.
problem might just be escalated to something bigger, which is, another case here that happened really a couple months ago, and it was news in the UK as well, was the deployment of an AI system to rate students. And I'm not sure you saw that one, but there were a lot of protests about, because a lot of students got rejected due to the system that was making incorrect mistakes as well. And, that was only picked up much later in the story as well. So that's why,
Wow.
when I was mentioning one of the principles there, human centricity, that is so
Yes.
important, because if you have a person that is in charge monitoring that, then we can find out when things go wrong much earlier.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Oh my goodness. So there's definitely a need to put some kind of framework in place for AI. I mean, it's a wonderful technology, but definitely not without its challenges.